This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to The Door Report.
Welcome back into The Door Report, and welcome into episode 354 on a lovely Tuesday evening, February 17th, 2026. I'm Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host, Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squad Jim Duggan. Here in the camera, you can also see our producer, Phoebe, as she tries to bite me in the intro. Great start. Here at The Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, graded cards, individual cards, and more. Check them out on eBay. Next up, Roback Activewear. There is only one way to describe Roback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Roback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. I'm wearing it right now. My game has never been more changed. Holy hell, it's so changed. Roback has released so many items within their newly licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, this is the quarter zip. This is the Vanderbilt quarter zip if you're watching on YouTube. It's very nice. I like it a lot. It's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Roback's everyday shorts or their Delta performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Roback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, both past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20, that is VAN20, all capital letters, no spaces, on roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That is spelled Roback, RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20. Last but not least, the NIL store. Check out the Vanderbilt NIL store at nil.store/doorreport15 and buy some gear from your favorite Vanderbilt athletes. I think Tyler Tanner was the featured athlete after his performance against Texas A&M. There's a great Tyler Tanner hoodie design. Basically, all your favorite Vanderbilt athletes, check out their gear on nil.store. Go to nil.store/doorreport15. Use code doorreport15, all capital letters, no spaces, at checkout for 15% off your order. That's it for the ad reads, Trevor. Time to get into episode 354.
I feel like the ad reads just get longer and longer and longer, and we just acquire more and more and more ad space.
There's only three, and they've been the same three for a long time, the same exact reads, and they do feel like they're getting longer. I think most podcasts by now would have pre-recorded that, but that's the TDR difference, baby.
Yeah.
And it's not because I've just been too lazy to do it, which has ultimately resulted in more work for myself. It's because these sponsors deserve live ad reads.
Yes.
That's why. And my true passion towards these ad reads, I know you can feel them through the screen and through your headphones. I know that.
If you had to pick a favorite advertiser, could you pick one? Don't answer that question.
I can't. They're all my favorite. It's like picking your favorite child. How could you even possibly do that? But on episode 354, Trevor, we have a little bit of football to get to, which is mostly just coaching staff changes.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Vanderbilt women's basketball and some mixed results. We discussed that last episode and what they had upcoming on the schedule. We forgot to point out one game. We did not specifically point out. It was the only unranked matchup Vanderbilt women's basketball had remaining on their schedule, and they lost it. We will dive into that a little bit. Then we will dive into Vanderbilt men's basketball. Only one game to recap, a victory over Texas A&M. We will go through that game and then briefly preview, or a little bit more in-depth preview, one of Vanderbilt's two upcoming matchups. That's going to be their road matchup against Missouri tomorrow or today. When you're listening to this, Trevor's going to go into a little bit more of a deep dive than we usually do in the previews because he's going to be unable to do one of his deep analytical dives for the Missouri matchup. And then we will preview the matchup that everybody's looking ahead to, unfortunately, right now, and that is Tennessee this Saturday, the 21st at 1 p.m. on ESPN. We're going to dive into that one a little bit, but Trevor will have a full YouTube video deep dive preview breakdown into that one. We expect.
Yes.
Don't hold him to that. But
guys, we're looking too far ahead. We got Missouri tomorrow night or tonight when you're listening. I get it. It's Tennessee. We got to stay focused. We got to stay focused on the task at hand. That task at hand is Missouri.
Gotta stay focused. We also have baseball to recap for the first time in a long time. The VandyBoys opened up the season in the Shriners Children's College Showdown. Didn't go great for Vanderbilt. They also just finished up a matchup against Eastern Michigan right before we started recording. We'll dive in a little bit into that. I know there are some premium message board questions as well about baseball, but it's early in baseball season. So you're going to see some overreaction just like you do every year. But Trevor, a lot to get to on episode 354. We're going to try to get through it as quickly as we can. But what's the overall vibe check right now? A lot going on in Vanderbilt athletics.
Yeah, overall vibe. I believe last week I was at a 7.5. Yep. Does that sound? Yeah. I'm going to bump that up a little bit. I'm going to go to an 8.5. I really, really like what I've seen out of Vanderbilt basketball. Gives me a lot of hope going into these next two opponents.
Trevor's bumping it up to an 8.5. You had been 7.5 and 7.5 2 weeks in a row. So this is a big bump for Trevor. But we have a ton to get to. Before we get into all that and much more, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoreport.com today and subscribe to a premium monthly or annual subscription and support TDR for access to premium content, as well as our premium message board behind closed doors. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes or Spotify. It's now time for segment 1. Welcome back into The Door Report, and welcome back into episode 354. It's now time to dive into everything we talked about in the intro. And to start off, that's going to be a little touch of football. Defensive line coach Larry Black is leaving for Michigan. All around, not going to lie, like I know Larry Black whatsoever. Every impression that I got was awesome coach. Everybody seemed to like him. Trevor, do you have any details or information on that or any thoughts on Larry Black leaving for Michigan?
Yeah, so I'll say had the opportunity to meet Larry Black a couple times. Nothing but a wonderful person. But as for like the football coach that Vanderbilt is losing, I think this is a really bad loss, or this is a really tough loss for Vandy football. Really good coach, probably the best recruiter that Vanderbilt football had on this staff. Really could kill it on the trails. That's going to be a big hole that Vanderbilt's going to have to fill, is that recruiting capability and recruiting ability that Larry Black had. That's going to be difficult to try and fix.
And he's going, just to 100% clarify for myself, because I can't actually remember this, he's going for the same position at Michigan.
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
And then also a little bit more news on the Vanderbilt coaching staff front. Vanderbilt is hiring ex-Tennessee Vol lineman, former LSU assistant Jackson Lampley, to the staff as an assistant coach. So small hire, but thought it was relevant to bring up. I don't really have any.
I don't have much on Lampley.
Yeah. So that is it for football. Of course, it is off season. We will ramp up a little more football talk once we get closer to spring practice. But now it is time to shift to the hardwood and to start Vanderbilt women's basketball. Last episode, we talked about the gauntlet that Vanderbilt women's basketball was facing. And they started that gauntlet by beating number 16 Kentucky on the road at Kentucky and beating number 10 Oklahoma handily, 102-86 at home. They then went on. The game we talked about more than maybe we've talked about women's basketball generally, outside of when we've had Alex, was the Texas game. And saying, and we even answered premium message board questions about if they can pull off that Texas game, this team has a legit shot at a 1 seed, a serious chance to be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Well, guess what they did? They beat Texas. Yeah. They came out and dominated Texas, beat them 86-70.
Yeah, handled them.
Yeah, against what I believe, and I could be wrong, I'm just reading a lot of Twitter on this, the best or one of the best defensive teams in the country in Texas. Well, Vanderbilt had one remaining unranked team on their schedule in front of them, and that was on the road against Georgia. Georgia's not a bad team. Going into this game, they were 19-6, 5-6 in the SEC. Vanderbilt lost 76-74 to the only unranked team remaining on their schedule, and they stuck at number 5 in the AP poll. So basically just washed that game with Texas in a lot of ways with where they're sitting, trying to vie for a number 1 seed. So, we don't get as fired up about women's basketball, but that's one of those parts of sports that will drive you absolutely insane. This team coming off 3 wins against top 16 opponents, 2 of those being top 10 opponents. And then you go on to lose to the unranked team on your schedule. It's just, that's the part of sports, regardless of how good your coaching staff is, how good your players are. That drives you crazy.
Yeah.
Coming up for Vanderbilt women's basketball, like I mentioned, that was the last time they faced an unranked team. Coming up, they have this week off, no midweek game for Vanderbilt women's basketball. They take on Kentucky at home, still ranked number 16 in the country. On the 22nd, I believe that's a Sunday at 3 p.m. on ESPN2. Then Vandy women's basketball takes on number 25 Alabama at home on the 26th at 6:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Vanderbilt, of course, closes out the season on the road against number 21 Tennessee on the 1st of March. We'll have an episode in between then. So Vandy women's basketball, I'm not saying that the possibility of a 1 seed is completely gone, but they have to have things break the right direction now. They no longer have control.
Yeah, things that are out of their control.
Yeah, they had full control over their destiny, and now that's kind of gone. They're still going to be a top 2 seed. So it's not,
2 seed is still great.
Yeah, it's not like all is lost, but still it's frustrating. I know for Vanderbilt women's basketball fans, it's very frustrating to see a performance like that after you're riding the high of that Texas game. Anything you want to add on women's basketball before we move on?
Nothing from me.
All right. Michaela Blakes and Aubrey Galvin are still dogs. Moving on to Vanderbilt men's basketball. Only 1 game to recap, a victory over Texas A&M, 82-69. Vanderbilt didn't move in the AP rankings. Stuck at number 19. I don't know if that's right or wrong. We talked about last episode that regardless of Texas A&M's record and in the SEC standings, this game was really significant. As far as separating out those standings. But Texas A&M was not a highly ranked team in any of the analytics. They were in the 40s and the 30s in KenPom and the net.
Yeah, well, into this week in college basketball, there wasn't any major upsets in the top 25 ahead of Vanderbilt, so there wasn't any room to move forward. The only upset was that Arizona did drop their 2nd game in a row after starting undefeated. Lost, I believe, Texas Tech. Texas Tech was able to jump up, but not just Vanderbilt. Other than that, other than Arizona and Texas Tech, just about everybody in the top 25 remained fairly stagnant. There was not a lot of movement for Vanderbilt. So I think that might have been a bigger reason than the quality of Vanderbilt's opponents.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's not uncharted waters for Vanderbilt basketball fans in the same way that it is for football, like it was. But once you're inside that top 20, I mean, unless you're playing a top 5 or top 10 opponent, there's just not much you can do. You have to have things break right in front of you in a lot of ways. So Vanderbilt sitting at 21-4, number 19 in the country, number 12 in KenPom. I do want to dive in for it, and number 13 in the NCAA net. So those rankings haven't moved since last episode.
Did you say Torvik?
No, I didn't.
They're 11 on Torvik.
So those have not moved. They're exactly where they were, at least the 3 that I named last episode.
They bumped up, I think, definitely 1 spot. I think maybe 2 spots on Torvik.
Okay.
I think they were 13. They bumped up to 11.
Okay, and the net and KenPom and AP, they didn't move. I do want to take a second. I'm curious if we have message board questions about this game in particular. I hope we do, because this game against Texas A&M was more encouraging of a win in a lot of ways than many of them that I've seen in the past.
I totally agree.
Okay. I thought you were going to disagree with me about something there.
I don't feel like I've seen enough discourse about Vanderbilt's performance in that Texas A&M game than I would have liked to have seen. But I totally agree with you. And please finish your thought. But I thought A.K. Okereke was the MVP of that game.
Yeah, it's been 2 games in a row and 2 wins. So I want to start off by going back a little bit, and it's to the Auburn victory. So Vanderbilt won that game 84-76. Tyler Tanner was still the leading scorer, but you saw Devin McLaughlin and Jalen Washington step up in a way that was different than what you'd seen previously. Combined 34 points, really efficient from the field. And even though Tyler Tanner was the leading scorer, those two guys kind of won them the ball game. This game is an even more exaggerated on steroids version of that. Tyler Tanner, Vanderbilt's superstar point guard. That's not exaggerating at this point. I mean, he is the engine that makes the car go.
Ken Palm has him as a top 20 player in all of college basketball. I actually think he has him at number 11, is the number 11th best player in college basketball. Or Evan Mia, sorry, not Ken Palm.
Yeah, Tyler Tanner only had 4 points on the day. Shot 2 of 10 from the field, struggling with foul trouble, only played 31 minutes. In previous games with Duke Miles out and Frankie Collins out, Tyler Tanner's been playing 38, 39 minutes a game. And Vanderbilt's been getting by for like 1 minute throughout the entire game without Tanner on the court. This time, that wasn't a possibility. This is really the first time you've seen Tyler Tanner in foul trouble and also just get taken out of the game by a team's defense. And it didn't affect this Vanderbilt team. They found ways to score outside of Tyler Tanner, found other ways to get into the offense. Tyler Nickel was outstanding. 25 points, 5 of 11 from 3, 8 of 14 overall. But another guy that deserves a tremendous amount of credit, even though Tyler Nickel deserves a lot of credit. My MVP of this game is still A.K. Okereke.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Or Okereke, whatever the proper pronunciation is. Whatever. I'm still going with Okereke, but I'm sorry if we've been saying it wrong all year.
If Chris is going to say A.K. Okereke, then I'm going to say A.K. Okereke.
We're just going to go with it. But Okereke, because Tyler Tanner was out of the game with foul trouble and just got taken out of the game generally by Texas A&M's defense, Okereke had to get Vanderbilt into their offense a lot throughout this game. Bucky McMillan, Texas A&M are a full court pressure team. That's what they do. And Okereke ended the game with 23 points on 5 of 8 shooting. Only 3 assists, but his stats don't really do that justice. I mean, he really was a primary ball handler against this Texas A&M defense. Devin McLaughlin was 17 points, 6 of 10 from the field. Once again, 2 games in a row, you've seen Devin McLaughlin step up offensively. Chandler Bing, once again, had a really good game. 31 minutes from Chandler Bing, 11 points, 4 of 9 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 6 rebounds. Chandler Bing's maturation throughout the season has been fun to watch. He's gone from a guy that I was super frustrated with on the court to at times I'm still frustrated with Chandler Bing. I'm not going to lie. But he has improved so dramatically throughout the season. You've really watched him grow as a player. And a lot of that is just being thrust into action because of what's happened with Duke Miles and Frankie Collins. So that's the thoughts I have. I'm very encouraged by the last 2 wins we have seen from this Vanderbilt basketball team because they haven't been in the normal way you would imagine. You saw Tyler Tanner, your secondary scorer without Duke Miles, step up. And when you really needed him, when your primary scorer and Tyler Tanner wasn't there, you've seen tertiary scores step up in back-to-back games. So I'm very encouraged with what I've seen from this team.
Yeah, I think too, whenever we look at that Texas A&M game in particular, particularly that press, whenever Vanderbilt was trying to get into their offense, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I thought A.K. Okereke had a hell of a game. I was really pleased with him. I thought he was the MVP of that game, the way he handled the ball going up the court, especially against a tough press. But like other guys, in the way that they handled the press gave me a lot of hope. Tyler Nickel is not a ball handler whatsoever, and that's putting it lightly. Whenever Tyler Nickel was taking the ball up court against that press, at times it was hard to watch, but he got it done. I know I'm a Mike James truther. Mike James got put in a lot of tough situations in the corner to where he could have turned the ball over, and he was able to find the outlet. Overall, I was really, really impressed with the whole team effort of Vanderbilt. And another guy, I know he's had consecutive games to where he's playing really high-level basketball. This doesn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet. Dude, Devin McLaughlin putting his body on the floor for a ball whenever Vanderbilt's up 10 with 30 seconds left. Dude, that's the type of shit that I love. The effort that Devin McLaughlin has been giving these past couple games, even if he wasn't filling up the stat sheet, just the sheer effort that he has been giving night in and night out has been super, super encouraging to see. So I agree with you, man. There was a lot of questions now without Duke Miles. God forbid what happens if Tyler Tanner has an off night, or God forbid what happens if Tyler Tanner gets in foul trouble. And you saw that. And you saw Vanderbilt handle it really well. So overall, I thought that was a really, really impressive game for Vanderbilt.
21-4 on the year, 8-4 in the SEC now. I do, before we quickly dive into the upcoming matchups for Vanderbilt basketball, I do want to read off the SEC standings and where they're sitting right now. So Florida is up above everyone else, in my opinion. They're number one in the standings, and right now how they're playing, they're the best team in the SEC.
I agree with that. Yep.
They're 11-2 in conference, sitting alone at the top. Arkansas sitting alone at number 2, 9-3. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Alabama and Kentucky all tied at 8-4 right now. Missouri, Texas A&M, and Texas all at 7-5. And then no other team in the conference has a winning record in SEC play. Then it's Georgia and Auburn tied at 5-7, Mississippi State at 4-8, Oklahoma and Ole Miss at 3-9, and LSU at 2-10, South Carolina at 2-11. So it seems like things have separated a top and a bottom in the SEC, and that cutoff is at in between Texas and Georgia. That's where the cutoff lies in my mind. And then there's a different level that I think right now Florida is solely in and playing at in the SEC.
You think the line is where? I'm sorry.
In between Texas and Georgia.
Okay, I think the line is in between Kentucky and Mizzou.
Okay, I would also, there is a line there. I think that's where,
because right now Missouri's not in the NCAA tournament. I believe, according to Lenardi, they're like one of the first teams out.
Okay, so rephrase. I was meaning more top half, bottom half. If you're talking like line.
Oh, my bad.
Because last episode, I
bad.
probably didn't clarify well. So top half, bottom half.
No,
SEC.
okay,
I think there is a line right below Kentucky, like you said, of teams that are true NCAA tournament teams versus very fringe.
But in terms of the conference, I agree with you. No, I agree.
I would say the fringe NCAA tournament teams: Missouri, Texas A&M, Texas. I think Texas. I don't know. I would have to look at the schedule. Where's Texas sitting? Are they out?
They're out.
They're out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that is the standings. Coming up for Vanderbilt is on tomorrow/today, when you're listening to this, Wednesday, February 18th at 8 p.m. on SEC Network. Vanderbilt takes on Missouri. Missouri is currently sitting 54th in KenPom. I know Trevor has a little bit on Missouri, but Missouri is a big team.
Huge.
Eighth in the country in average height, according to KenPom. They also struggle to defend the three. 302nd in the country in three-point field goal percentage defense, according to KenPom. Trevor, take it away on Ole Missouri.
Yeah, so we'll first start out with Vanderbilt on offense versus Mizzou on defense. So adjusted offensive efficiency, Vanderbilt's at 125. That's number 13 in the nation. This is a very, very efficient Vanderbilt offense. Adjusted efficiency for defense, Missouri, they're 104.8. That would be 97th in the nation. So not great, not awful, but like good. In terms of effective field goal percentage, Vanderbilt, as we all know, great shooting team. Effective field goal percentage, they're shooting 56.4%. That's number 23 in the nation. Missouri's effective field goal defense is 50.2. That's 123 in the nation. So not doing a great job at defending shots, particularly as Will mentioned and as I have written down the three-point shot. Vanderbilt's three-point percentage right now is 36%. Missouri's three-point defense is 36.1%. What did KenPom have that at? 302?
Yeah, 302.
Okay, yes. I have 302 as well. We'll go to Missouri on offense and Vanderbilt on defense. Missouri is shooting or having an adjusted effective offense or adjusted offensive efficiency. Jesus Christ. Of 118.6 to Vanderbilt's adjusted defense efficiency of 96.8. That's number 20 in the nation for Vanderbilt. So according to KenPom, whenever you look at adjusted defensive efficiency, Vanderbilt's a top 20 defense. Effective field goal percentage 34.9 to Vanderbilt's effective field goal defense of 29.5. That's number 10 in the nation. This is where also, along with Missouri's three-point defense, things get kind of hairy for Mizzou. They have a turnover percentage of 17.9. That's 252nd in the nation out of, I believe, how many teams? There's like 336.
368.
368, something like that. So not good. That presents Vanderbilt an opportunity to get turnovers and to get transition buckets.
361 to
361.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to give Vanderbilt a real opportunity to get turnovers and to get transition buckets. Now, one of the strengths of Mizzou, probably their biggest strength, this is a team that cleans up on the glass, man. They have an offensive rebound percentage of 36.4. That's number 26 in the nation. So Vanderbilt's going to go up against a top 30 offensive rebounding percentage team. Whenever it comes to rebounds, the guy that you really kind of want to hone in on and see if you can maybe take him out of the picture. However, I don't know how realistic that is going to be Sean Phillips at center. Plays majority of the game. He has an offensive rebound percentage in conference of 10.5 and a defensive rebound percentage of 17.2. So on both sides of the glass, but really the defensive side, this is a guy that absolutely cleans up on the glass. I'm going to have a clear height advantage over Jalen Washington and Devin McLaughlin. How Vanderbilt handles that, I would imagine they handle it in a similar style as they've handled bigger teams in the past this season. With that being said, it hasn't worked out well. So I don't know what they could do different. Now, whenever we look at Mizzou's offense, going back to their offense, as we've read off, this is not a good shooting team. This I found fascinating. The D1 average for shots at the rim up to 2 feet away from the rim, the D1 average is 44%. Mizzou, 65% of their shots are at the rim up to 2 feet away from the rim. 65%. So this is a team that clearly does not like a mid-range game, does not like shooting threes. They're going to bang it down low, and they're going to try and get easy buckets at the rim. That also is going to present a problem for Vanderbilt. I fear that if Vanderbilt is susceptible to that and Mizzou wants to bang down low, I'm really, really fearful that McLaughlin as well as Jalen Washington are going to get into some foul trouble. With that being said, if and when Mizzou goes to the line, I don't want to jinx it. This is a really shitty.
This is the ultimate jinx.
I don't want to jinx it. Knock on plastic. This is a objectively shitty free throw team. Do you know how much they're shooting from the free throw line? You're looking.
I'm not gonna steal it because I am looking at it.
67.4 or 67.4% from the charity stripe. That is awful. Now, like I said, I feel awful because now I think I jinxed it.
Yeah, that's 333rd in the country.
Out of, like you said, 363
360.
teams?
So I need to go to KenPom and see how many they calculate. But it was 361 to 365 because some teams are in like an inner.
In like that weird bubble. But yeah, that's what I've got on this game. I have some keys. I think
KenPom is 365. So we'll say 365.
Call it.
Yep.
Some keys to the game. First and foremost, and this is incredibly obvious, is Vanderbilt's going to have to protect the paint. How do you do that? I don't know. So I feel kind of dumb including that as a key because it's so obvious and it's so much of Mizzou's game. But how Vanderbilt does that, I don't know.
Yeah, and a big part of that isn't like you mentioned the name of their center, and I'm forgetting Sean
Phillips.
Sean Phillips. He's a beast, a true 7-footer. A huge part of this for Missouri is not just the size they have down low, but guys like Mark Mitchell.
He's averaging like over 5 boards a game.
Yeah, he's their leading scorer. He's a 6'9", kind of a 3 type player, a leading scorer averaging 17.2 points, and he's not getting those points from behind the arc.
No.
He's only shot 36 threes all year. He's only made 10 threes. And so it's not just big men. Like, it's different than how Texas –
to where they were just going to that slog guy down low.
It's different than Texas. They are a
slasher,
a team
almost.
Slashing.
They're a slashing team.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, like now, whenever it comes to guard play and in protecting from those slashers, I trust Vanderbilt's capabilities. I have a real fear on if they're like, okay, this isn't working, we'll just pass down low to Phillips. That some concerns arise from that. Number 2 is going to be make your 3-point shots. Vanderbilt is a good 3-point shooting team. Mizzou is a bad 3-point defending team. Make your shots and limit transition buckets. I think a nightmare scenario in this game is that threes aren't falling. Mizzou has the ability to get into transition and go coast to coast. that feels like a potential nightmare for Vanderbilt. And then number 3, incredibly in your face. You could say this about every game. But especially given what we saw against Texas A&M and the foul trouble and just the general off night that Tyler Tanner had, you're going to have to get good bench minutes. Chandler Bing's going to have to keep doing this. Like Mike James is going to have to step up. Mike James is going to have to get buckets. I'm a Mike James truther. I love Mike James. He's not delivering on offense whenever it comes to scoring, and he's going to have to step up and get out of this funk. Tyler Harris. I don't want to throw the baby out the bathwater, but to be honest, it feels like we have a large enough sample size that I confidently can't throw the baby out with the bathwater on that.
Yeah, Tyler Harris, when you watch him play, I can see why he is a guy that including me, had high expectations of going into the year.
He shot 50% last year.
I can see it. But for whatever reason, he's just out of rhythm.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. He's just forcing it. And now that he started cold, he's forcing it even more. Tyler Harris, at this point, I'm almost ready to be like, unless there's foul trouble, he's just a guy that's going to play 2 to 4 minutes of fill-in time.
Yeah.
And that is what it is.
Yeah.
And Mike James has shown some flashes, but Mike James' expectations before the season were also insanely lower than Tyler Harris's.
Yeah, I agree.
That's also the difference in viewpoint there of those two guys. Is I fully expected Tyler Harris to be like a 6th-man demon.
I think
player that came off the bench as a dynamic scorer. And
correct me if I'm wrong, but like whenever we were doing our preview, I think we both said like we could see a scenario in which Tyler Harris is your leading scorer.
Well,
was I making that up?
We both did. I stupidly said Kimball because I forgot that he was out for the season.
Well, speaking
in my
of George
prediction.
Kimball, man, dude, I just like for some reason like was like he wasn't doing anything, but I was like looking at him. Dude, that guy looks strong. He is thick.
He's going to be a player that everybody's forgetting about.
Dude, he looks physical, at least from like the waist up. He looks strong.
Yeah, and then a couple players you didn't mention on the Missouri side of things that I do want to bring up. I know that's a rough transition, not my smoothest transition.
I thought it was a wonderful transition.
Yeah, Jaden Stone. There are 2 kind of guys that do shoot from the outside. Are Jacob Cruz, number 1, has shot the most threes on the season and made the most threes. Is a high percentage 3-point shooter, 52 of 111 on the season, 3rd leading scorer on the team. He's a guy to watch out for from behind the arc. Also, Jaden Stone is willing to let it fly, 91 attempts on the year, made 36. And then another guy not shooting near as high of a percentage, but the 3rd guy willing to let it fly is Anthony Robinson the second, has shot 79 threes on the year, because I feel like we've talked so much about Missouri not being a good shooting team. The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to start burying threes.
I totally agree.
And people are going to start saying, well, you guys said they can't shoot. I'm like, that doesn't mean they don't have guys that do shoot, that can get hot.
Yeah.
But just so far this season, they're not an elite shooting team.
Yeah.
So that is Missouri. Moving on to another team that's not an elite shooting team, and we won't dig near as deep into this matchup, even though I know it is the highly anticipated matchup. But Trevor's going to have a deep analytics dive, and those videos are just incredible, so look out for that on YouTube. But Vanderbilt takes on Tennessee this Saturday at home, the 21st of February at 1 p.m. on ESPN. Dickie V on the call.
Dude.
Maybe one of the most legendary, maybe one of the most legendary pictures, regardless of your feelings of Dickie V.
Yeah,
legendary pictures is Dickie V crowd surfing inside of the Memorial Student Section from years and years ago. Whatever year that was. Is that 08?
No, I think listeners fact check me. I think that was 2012 Kentucky whenever game day was here.
Okay, I can't remember what year it was, but. Big time rivalry, as it always is. Vanderbilt plays Tennessee twice, home and away. This is the home side of that matchup. So kind of jumbled in here at the end of the season. But Tennessee briefly only have 2 guys scoring in double digits. Those 2 players are dynamic offensively, though, but not a ton of spread out scoring. Not a great shooting team in Tennessee. Jacoby Gillespie is their leading scorer, 18.2 points per game. Nate Ament. He's been playing incredibly well.
He's really come along.
This is I watch, so full disclosure to everybody out there, basketball season, I watch a ton of basketball on mute, and then I read articles. So I mispronounce so many names for whatever reason, but Nate Amin, 17.7 points per game. The last 5 games, he scored 22, 16, 29, 28, 22. He's really been coming on during SEC play. He's going to be a matchup nightmare for this Vanderbilt team.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Tennessee is the #1 offensive rebounding team by percentage in the country, according to Ken Pom. And then, of course, the one player that is returning to Memorial, Jalen Carey. A lot of emotions from Vanderbilt fans. How do you think that greeting is going to be for him inside of Memorial?
That I think this Saturday will be maybe the most hostile Vanderbilt crowd I've ever experienced. I think it's going to get really bad for Jalen Carey.
It is going to be an incredible environment inside of Memorial.
Yeah.
Like I keep mentioning, because I want people to go watch this. Trevor's doing a full analytics deep dive. Anything you want to add about this Tennessee matchup as a little teaser, possibly?
Yeah, I think Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Amon are both nightmare matchups. I feel much more confident about Vanderbilt's ability to guard Nate Amon than I do them guarding Jacoby Gillespie. According to Evan Mia, Jacoby Gillespie is, I think, the 18th best player in the nation. I think I definitely know he's top 20 in the nation. He's a dog. He's a hooper.
Yep. And Jesus, Phoebe.
She's all up in
She
your
is
face, dude.
in my grill right now. Yeah, you're concerned. I mean, Jacoby Gillespie to me is the better player. I just think as far as matchups go, I'm not as concerned. I don't know. You're probably right.
Well, and I think too, and Nate Amon has been such a streaky play. Not as of late, but like throughout, whenever you look at the context of the season, he's been incredibly streaky. And I don't think that Vanderbilt or Vanderbilt fans should bank on Nate Amon having an off night, because odds are he's not going to have an off night. He's probably going to put up 20. I just think Jacoby Gillespie this season has been much more consistent. I also think that he's the engine that makes that offense go.
Has there been a line released on that Missouri game yet?
Ooh, I'm not a gambling man, so I don't know. I typically ask you what the line is. What would you say the line would be?
If I had to guess,
I'm going to say 5.5
on the road. So we were basically dead on.
Yeah,
with
we
the
were.
Texas A&M
We were.
game. It was 6.5. I haven't looked at it yet. I'll look at it after this.
I'm going to say 5.5.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, 5.5. That's what I'm going to go with. And Vanderbilt is 3.5. So a little bit lower than we expected, but Vanderbilt is a 3.5-point favorite over Missouri.
Interesting.
Some miscellaneous basketball stats I wanted to get to. We're pretty deep into the season at this point. 12 games into SEC play for Vanderbilt. You're 25 games into the season. It's time to start looking at some season stats for some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Nickel, second in the SEC now in three-point shooting percentage, shooting 44.2%, behind only Aiden Holloway from Alabama, who I believe is shooting 44.4%. Nickel has more attempts.
Yeah.
But Tyler Nickel sitting at second. Nickel is also seventh in the conference in overall field goal percentage at 49.4%, which is insane for a three-point shooter to be seventh in the conference. It just shows how much his game has matured, especially his offensive game has just expanded so dramatically. He's not just a shooter. He can get to his spot and truly has a mid-range game along with an ability to get to the basket.
I think his mid-range game and his ability to get to the rack has been almost as impressive as his three-point shooting this year, because that's something we didn't see last year.
Yeah, it's been a revelation. Tyler Tanner sitting at ninth, shooting 47.2%. Tyler Tanner is also fifth in the SEC in scoring overall, averaging 18.3 points per game. Only 4 players average over 20 points per game in the SEC. Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner are both top 6 in free throw percentage. Love to see your guards in the top 6 in the conference in free throw percentage.
That'll win you ball games.
So the status, last thing we will talk about with basketball here before we move on to baseball quickly, the status of Duke Miles and Frankie Collins. Number one is both these guys are out against Missouri tomorrow. That's been officially released.
Yeah, that's on the SEC availability report that was released like 2 hours ago.
That's what I
this.
thought I saw. Frankie Collins still a lot more up in the air. When do you think Vanderbilt fans, just a complete guess, this is not insider info or anything, when do you think Vanderbilt fans are going to see Duke Miles again?
I'm going to be honest. My gut is telling me we see Duke Miles Saturday.
Something in my gut is telling me too.
That is not sourced. My gut tells me we see him Saturday.
Which would be absolutely electric.
With that being said, I will release this tidbit. I posted this on, I posted this on the board, but it turned out that this wasn't like breaking news. Duke, how do I say this without getting myself or somebody else in trouble? If they needed to, Duke Miles could have gone Saturday against Texas A&M.
I believe that.
I'll leave it at that. I feel like that was a good, yeah. I feel like also people are like, oh, with the timeline, yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense to bring him back for a huge Tennessee game.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. Now, Frankie Collins still a lot more up in the air. There was a video posted to his Instagram story of him getting some work done in the Vanderbilt training room. So
Mark Byington says they're trying a new rehab technique.
I'm just not ready to cast a decision either way on Frankie.
Yeah.
I know we had said the thing of if we don't see him by X date, then you're not going to see Frankie the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm going to take that back.
I'm still not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I want to take that back if that's possible.
Yeah, and then there's the part of this that he's getting attacked a lot.
I hate that shit, dude.
Which is, if it is some people are theorizing based on nothing, just based on piecing together puzzle pieces that Frankie Collins is sitting out in an effort to preserve his red shirt, which you can play in 9 games, or 30% of games during a season, which is exactly where he is at, having played 9 games so far and is sitting out in order to preserve eligibility of potential red shirt and play again next season. That's been the puzzle pieces coming together, not sourced, nothing released. And then people digging in 100 times too much into post-game press conferences.
Yeah.
About injuries, when intentionally Mark Byington is always vague about every player, and you can take it whatever direction you would like to. If it is confirmed that's what's happening, I'm still not an attack a player kind of guy.
Yeah.
So that's never what I am, but I would get it. But this is not confirmed right now. You could be you could look like a complete and utter ass if this turns out to not be the case. That is happening. You can look like a fool. And right now, it's just that's not confirmed. People have been saying crazy things like or maybe crazy is the wrong word, but things and starting rumors that are completely unsourced of he's no longer on the team. Well,
he's on the fucking availability
report. So obviously not officially. So there's just a lot of stuff. Just don't attack a guy on social media. That's not gonna.
Yes, thank you. Damn, dude, that shit makes me so upset, dude. And if I'm with you, if that was true and it was confirmed in the era of you're getting paid to play,
have your opinions.
I understand. Believe me, I understand. But I don't want to choose I'm very plugged in to people within the Huber Center and within Memorial Gym. I am very plugged in. Please, 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 cut this shit out with tweeting at him. Please. Stop doing it.
Yeah, I don't know what direction it is going right now, but I'm saying just hold on. Right now, it's not helping anything right now, is my general thought. If it does end up being that direction, then I totally get it. In the modern era. I mean, that would be the same thing as getting mad at a professional player for sitting out a season.
Yes, if it was
same
true,
idea.
Totally, yeah. I'm hey.
But
it is what it is.
It's not where they're sitting right now. So we are going to go. Well, let's go baseball really quick. And then we're going to go to the TDR cocktail break and then premium message board questions. So baseball really quickly. This is going to be a long segment 1 and hopefully a decently short segment 2. I don't know how many premium message board questions we have. Vanderbilt baseball, the VandyBoys, kicked off the 2026 season in the Shriners Children's College Showdown in Texas. Vanderbilt on Friday took on TCU at 3 p.m. Lost that matchup 5-4, despite 4 solo home runs, including 3 home runs from Colin Barzy. Still lost that game, but they were facing, and you'll have to excuse maybe some of the details that I get slightly incorrect here, as I did not buy a subscription to Flow Sports. So I was listening to Andrew Allegretti. So I didn't actually get to watch any of these games because fucking Flow Sports is televising high major matchups in college baseball. How is that possible? That amateur operation, whatever. I'm just not paying $25 a month for Flow Sports.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I pay $110 a freaking month for Hulu and the expanded sports package. I'm not paying for another thing. End of that rant. But anyway, Vanderbilt opened up the season with a loss against a guy, and I can't remember the name of the TCU pitcher, but Andrew Allegretti multiple times referred to him as a high-level MLB draft prospect, potentially a late first-round, early second-round draft pick. So a high-quality arm to open the season. Then on Saturday, the VandyBoys got back on the right track against Texas Tech at 11 a.m., beat them 13-3 in 8 innings, and then on Sunday closed up the showdown with a pretty dramatic loss to Oklahoma State at 10:30 a.m., 11-1. I did not get to see or listen to any of that Oklahoma State game. Seems like that was for the best. And then I was able to watch a good portion of the Eastern Michigan game from today, and Vanderbilt won that one in 7 innings, 13-2. Brody Johnston walked it off. I guess it's still a walk-off when you run rule. You still call it a walk-off?
I still call it a walk-off.
I still call it a walk-off, too. Brody Johnston now with 5 home runs on the season. I believe that leads the nation right now, or tied.
Yeah.
Or is tied for the nation's lead.
Brody Johnson also number 22 in the nation in weighted runs created plus. So he's having a hell of a start to the season.
But the big part of this, it's really freaking early. Really early. Like, we have the conversation during basketball season that, guys, keep in mind, basketball isn't football. Well, then every year we have to have the conversation, guys, keep in mind, baseball's not basketball. So it's not panic time right now.
Yeah.
It's just not. Upcoming on the horizon, Vanderbilt's schedule eases up from what they saw on the opening weekend. Tomorrow/today, when you're listening to this, they take on Eastern Michigan again at 4:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Then they have a weekend series against Marist. On Friday, the 20th, they play at 2 p.m. Saturday, the 21st, they play at 2 p.m. And Sunday, the 22nd, they play at 1 p.m. All of those games will be broadcast on SEC Network Plus. Marist has started out the year 0-3. They traveled to East Tennessee in Johnson City to take on ETSU, lost all those games by between 3 and 5 runs. Then Marist has no midweek matchups and then takes on Vanderbilt after a full week off. Marist is also located in New York.
Yeah.
So just an interesting travel schedule to come down to East Tennessee and Johnson City, then I guess take a long bus ride to Nashville, Tennessee with no games in the middle, and then have another weekend series against a Tennessee-based team. Just an interesting schedule to start.
I would imagine that their athletics budget does not allow them to fly from New York to Johnson City back to New York just for a couple days later to fly them back to Nashville.
Yeah,
Can you even fly into Johnson City?
I maybe have to find it Knoxville. I don't know.
I don't know. Johnson City's
yeah,
got
they
an
have such an
airport.
interesting. I just had to dig into it because I was curious. They have such an interesting. They lost to ATSU by 1, 2, and 5, by the way, but they did get swept. They play Vanderbilt and then they take on Purdue. After that, no midweek games, just straight ETSU into a Vanderbilt matchup into Purdue.
Are these kids going to classes at Marist?
There's no way they're going to class because Purdue is in North Carolina.
No, Purdue's in
okay, well they must
Indiana.
They must be taking on Purdue in some type of something else because I thought it was in Indiana, but this is in Holly Springs, North Carolina. So I don't know.
Oh, it's got to be a tournament, yeah, because Purdue's in Indiana.
Yeah, whatever. That makes more sense. All right, but Marist, fascinating scheduling. That's just what I had to get into really quickly. But any early thoughts on baseball? I know we have quite a few baseball questions in the premium message board.
Overall, I don't want to say I like what I'm seeing from the bats in terms of power because it's such a small sample size. However, my eyebrow is raised ever so slightly in that I see the power that Vanderbilt is exhibiting at the plate, and I'm like, I like. Other than that, in terms of like the pitching over the weekend, I'm not willing to make any claims one way or the other. Overall, the thing that stood out to me the most was I really liked the power that Vanderbilt exhibited. I thought overall there were some instances to where I thought the plate approach was really bad, but overall I thought Vanderbilt had an improved plate approach. Drew a lot of walks, just had trouble getting those guys home. But I'm a little bit of an old school guy that it's like, hey man, I don't care. Just if you can get them on base, that's nice. Just get them home. And then have somebody behind them that has extra base hit capability and has some power to drive them home. So overall, I actually was pleasantly surprised with the plate approach. Not willing to make any remarks on the pitching. Defense, typical Vanderbilt defense. I love watching Barcy behind the plate. Kid's got a hose.
Yeah, overall, good first impressions, but I just want to keep saying it's very early. I liked the power I saw.
Yeah.
Early. That's been my main takeaways. Vanderbilt has power this season. Now, they haven't had the situational hitting, like you said, but I've seen power so far, which was a huge concern going into this year. So it's just, I need a bigger sample size. Yeah. And everybody, to be honest, needs a bigger sample size before any rash judgments are being jumped to right now about this baseball team.
And I'll say this about the plate approach. I know some people are going to be like, oh, you're one of those new school baseball analytic douchebags. It's play situational baseball. I am very much okay with Vanderbilt's strikeout numbers going up if that means that their home run and power numbers and slugging numbers go up. That's a trade-off I'm willing to take 7 days out of the week.
I agree with that. Phoebe is still up in my face.
She's tripping right now.
She did me again.
Phoebe, come on, baby.
So we are going to head to the TDR cocktail break, and then we're going to answer premium message board questions. So everybody out there, grab yourself a delicious ice cold or hot beverage, and we will be back right after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break, and welcome back into episode 354. We already briefly talked about the slight changes to the Vanderbilt football coaching staff. We recapped Vanderbilt women's basketball, looked ahead at their schedule, recapped Vanderbilt men's basketball, looked ahead at their schedule, and then we also talked Vanderbilt baseball and looked ahead to what they have on the horizon. Now it is time for premium message board questions. Never know what we're going to get. First up, from VandyFan95. So, Vandy baseball sucks now? Question mark.
No, they don't suck.
I am sad. Please give us some advice to cope with this sadness. Drink.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. No, do not self-medicate, guys, please.
Drugs, alcohol.
No, that's literally the last thing that you guys should do. Please, I'm begging, don't do that.
I'm gonna curtail this actual question because I did look at the bottom of this premium message board Q&A thread. Same user, VandyFan95 says, update. The VandyBoys game against Eastern Michigan just finished. Booking my tickets to Omaha now. So he answered his own question.
That's just the experience of a sports fan.
It's beautiful stuff.
It is.
That is the first and last posts in this Q&A.
Brother, I cannot tell you how many times after a result I've been like, this team sucks, my life is over, just for them to get a win and be like, oh my God, I'm so back. It's the meme. It's the meme.
It is. Next up from GLH4VU, Corbs is Dabo. ... Discuss. It's not the worst comparison.
I think it's pretty spot on, to be honest with you. Because if you want to, both are great. I wouldn't call Dabo great.
Not Clemson. Tim Corbin to me is a better, higher regarded baseball coach than Dabo is football coach.
Yes.
So that's a given. But
their approach to their respective sports are hyper similar, if not the exact same. And that the disregard for you could say the disregard for the transfer portal. Historically, since we have had the transfer portal and NIL, Tim Corbin has not wanted to play ball. Could you make the argument that changed a little bit this offseason? Yeah, a little bit. Could you make the argument that changed a little bit for Dabo this offseason? Yeah, maybe. I'm going to be honest. I think that's a really good comparison.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to
both
draw.
The Clemson connect.
Yeah, between the success before and after.
Yeah,
the
Tim Corbin,
portal.
a former Clemson guy, Dabo, a current Clemson guy.
Yeah, and it's kind of similar. Like Clemson they're not horrendous. Like last season for Clemson, they were 7-6. That was a bad season, but it's not like they fell off a cliff after the transfer portal and NIL era began.
No,
they just were no longer an elite national champion.
It was a gradual decline.
Yes. So I'm not ready to say yes at all. And I think Corbin will always be a tier above what Dabo is. But there's a lot of parallels to draw there, unless something changes dramatically for Tim Corbin. And that's not saying anything about this season being done. That has nothing to do with the results of this season so far. That has nothing to do with that. All right, next up from 615 Door. Would love an updated percentage chance, gut feeling, and or information of both Duke and Frankie returning to action before the SEC tournament. ... Go.
Duke 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, like literally
100% on Duke. But he said
question about it. And Frankie,
coin flip to me. I'm going to say 40%.
Yes. I would probably sit at a coin flip. I'd say 50-50 for Frankie. Duke 100% though.
Yeah, I'm a 50-50 to 40%, somewhere in there. Slightly less than a coin flip for me. But you're gonna have Duke Miles back. And at this point, to me, Duke Miles
is
they're being mentioned, and it's often me mentioning them in the same end, but it's Duke Miles getting back is 8 to 10 times more important than Frankie Collins getting back.
Yes. Yeah. Like I think we forget that like Vanderbilt went on that like tremendous run, majority of it without Frankie Collins.
And as we've said, I would love to have Frankie Collins back.
Right.
But Frankie Collins is a depth piece. Duke Miles is your second best player on this roster.
He's a starting
and
five
that is
guy.
Zero offense to Tyler Nickel. That's a different role.
Yeah.
Tyler Tanner's 1. Duke Miles is 2. Nickel is maybe 2B, you can say.
Yeah.
But Duke Miles was averaging and is averaging basically the same amount of points as Tyler Tanner per game. Better steal percentage than Tyler Tanner defensively. That's crazy to say, but it's true according to Ken Palm. Like, this is a guy you need to have back.
Yeah.
Like, this is a huge deal. Frankie Collins is like, all right, that's good, but he's not a game-changing player.
No.
Good player that I want to see, but not a game-changing player like Duke Miles.
Yes, thank you. I feel like that gets conflated.
Yes. They get combined when I'm like...
And they're not on the same level.
Yeah, they're not in
even
the same
close.
tier. Like, yeah. Peter Porker 714. Colin Bryant, the GOAT.
The GOAT.
Best VandyBoys baseball preview. If you haven't read it, it's still early in the season. Go read it on thedoorreport.com. But he starts this by saying, I don't have to read this, but I don't even know what it is yet. So I'm going to read it. Overreactions after 3 games in a high variance sport. We are so back. So exactly what we've been saying. Guys, this is nowhere near a big enough sample size to say how the season will go. I'm not saying this is an Omaha team, and I'm not even saying they'll make a regional. There's just way too much baseball left to be making massive or reactionist claims either way. This is only 3 games, the first 3 of the year. They should have won Friday against a very good TCU team. And for some perspective, the 2019 VandyBoys got the brakes beaten off them in the 3rd game of the season against TCU, of all teams, in a game that looked a lot like what just happened to Vandy against Oklahoma State. So basically,
yeah, I totally agree.
In-house baseball experts, Colin, is just basically reiterating what we had already
I
said.
Absolutely agree.
But Colin is the most baseball ball knower
that
I've ever seen in my life. And Trevor, who is also a baseball ball knower, acknowledges this.
Yeah, Colin and Alex they're the freaking best, man.
Next up from Kodak Black and Gold, shifting the conversation a bit, as Kodak always tends to do. What stat line does Chandler Bing average if placed on Vanderbilt women's basketball? He knows. He knows. I don't know who Kodak Black and Gold is. He knows.
Chandler Bing, after every single game, would have the Wilt photo with him with 100 scratched on a piece of copy.
So I
paper.
legitimately mean this. Like, there's the reason Chandler Bing's interesting in this conversation is Chandler Bing is not a skilled offensive player. I don't think Chandler Bing would argue he's a skilled offensive player, but unless I'm mistaken, Chandler Bing is 6'4", 202 pounds, and can effortlessly dunk, just vertical, effortlessly dunk. There might be a couple players that can. I'm not sure there's a player on the Vanderbilt women's basketball team that can touch the rim, much less dunk. Like, whatever Chandler Bing's stat line would be playing on a relatively elite / above average 8th grade basketball team, that's going to be what it is. And it's not because he's more skilled. It's because none of them can dunk. Vanderbilt's center is Sasha Washington, who's what, 6'2"?
Yeah.
He's gonna average probably 45 to 50 points and 25 to 30 rebounds a game because nobody can jump above the rim.
How many blocks would he average?
Jesus Christ! I mean,
10
minimum.
Yeah.
10, and
he'd average a triple double a game.
Yeah, like this is where it gets confused. Like, I truly believe like Michaela Blakes is a more skilled offensive player than Chandler Bing.
Yeah.
That's not the argument here. Michaela Blake's one-on-one against Chandler Bing
Would get boxed.
Couldn't stop him. There would be impossible to stop him. And there's the other part of this that we don't talk about a lot, which is the 29.5 men's basketball versus the 28.5 women's basketball. If you've never played basketball, so 2 regulation-sized basketballs fit through a basketball hoop. That's a common coach thing to show. The margin for error with a 28.5 basketball for a shooter is dramatically different than a 29.5 basketball. It's crazy. It's why you see so many weird roll-ins in women's basketball you don't see in men's. The ball bounces differently because there's a huge, like that small little inch doesn't seem like it matters that much, but it really does. So that's the end of that rant. Thanks for letting me get on a rant there, Kodak.
That's what he said.
Pause. Next up, we got a baseball question from World's Strongest Vandy Fan. At what point do we start to really look at the value that these RPI building losses give to us versus the confidence boost that shelling the Derek Zoolander School for Kids Who Can't Read Good 45-0 across a weekend would give us? Virginia just hung 30 on someone. Who do you think is feeling it more? Them for smacking around some D2 school, or us who got spanked Sunday and couldn't hit a lemming off a cliff Friday? Maybe strong on the Friday. They did hit 4 home runs, but not even mentioning the optics of having a home opening weekend rather than opening on a Tuesday night. Because going 1-2 and getting run ruled sure isn't the way to start a season that was supposed to have fixed our issues through finally embracing the portal and bringing in guys who can stroke it. None of the transfers were the stars of the weekend. Studs were all returners. I do agree with that. Studs were all returners for the most part.
That's a really interesting post that I think his point has a lot of merit. Where I would push back is these types of series, no, they don't make you feel good right now. And yeah, Virginia is feeling much better than Vanderbilt right now. Where these matter is come late in conference play. And if Vanderbilt gets battle tested and sees good arms and good plate appearances early, that is going to help them more in crunch time than it would be beating the Derek Zoolander University School week 1.
Yes. However, I do tend to be on the side of I think that's a little overrated at times, and building confidence.
Yeah.
And building confidence with your team early is more important. And I think you saw a decent example of that with this Vanderbilt men's basketball team.
Yeah, and I know we just and that's a really good point, because I know we literally just went on a rant that we're like, football is not basketball and basketball is not baseball. But like something that we have consistently said for like both football and basketball is like football, we want that home opener to be the school of the blind, and you want to really whoop up on them as opposed to playing Virginia.
Just get started on the right foot.
In the same thing in basketball. So I do agree with you and World's Strongest Vandy fan. I think there's real merit in that. But and like you said, could you say that like, okay, come crunch time in SEC baseball, like late in the season, how much does that week 1 series really matter? I typically, whenever it comes to baseball, tend to lean like I think it matters more than playing like a school of the blind. But I'm up in the air for debate.
Yeah, I tend to lean more towards as a person who played. This is obviously basketball with a coach that very much liked to be we're going to play an incredibly difficult out of district schedule. It can be demoralizing at times when you're not an elite level team and you're just a pretty good team that's going to compete for a district. It can be demoralizing. So that's where it's different. Is Vanderbilt standard is Omaha. If you're a team that fully expects Omaha and that's the roster that you have, then I think, yes, you do have benefit of that in some ways. If you're a team that's like, man, I really want to get to a super to get things back on track, I almost think it helps to get started on the right foot a little more. So maybe a little variation there. But
I really love his point about your weekend opener being at home. I hate that the past couple of years Vanderbilt's opened to Globe Life. I hate it. Open the weekend at the Hawk. I totally agree with that.
Anchor down 4-2-2-4. I'm not sure we can guard Amen effectively, given sometimes he just absolutely sucks. So hopefully he does against us. But if he is killing us, which player are we sacrificing to start a brawl and take him out?
Jaden Leverett.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking since Mason Nicholson will never see the court in a Vanderbilt jersey, he should wear it proudly one last time to take him out. Who are you sacrificing and why? I like the Leverett. Mason Nicholson's not going to be on the court this year. They can also take out Boswell because he's the whiniest and ugliest player I've ever seen. Jesus Christ. His face combined with that throw up orange is not getting him any females. I can't read the rest of this. But great post. I can't read the rest of it.
We got kids that listen to this.
Great post. Great post. Bex 4VU. Will this be a year where baseball is the worst of our 4 biggest sports? I think so. Unfortunately. It's not, that doesn't even mean that they're going to be bad. I mean, you have a top. Where did Vanderbilt football finish?
15.
You have a top 15 football team, a basketball team that right now in Ken Palm in the net is top 15. In AP, they're 19. You have a top 5 women's basketball team. So Vanderbilt baseball could have a solid season and still be the worst finishing out of those.
I agree with you. I think that's probably how it's going to finish.
I never thought that could be a possibility if you'd have said that like 6 years ago. That just seems out
if you'd
of
have
the
said
realm
that
of,
2 years ago,
out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, if so, I think only the second time in my 55-year lifetime, the other being the 1991-92 school year when we were respectable in football and pretty good in hoops. Other pre-Corbin years when we were decent/good at football, the men's basketball teams weren't very good and baseball was just a tad better. 2011-2012 was relatively good in football, good in hoops, and relatively not great in baseball. Baseball was still objectively better than football. Yeah. We're having a unicorn of a year in Vanderbilt athletics right now, and I'm not complaining about it.
No, I'm here for it.
GLH4VU asks, who is your least favorite Tennessee men's basketball player ever? It's a good question.
Trey Golden. I hated with that dumbass headband. I hated Trey Golden. Hated him.
Somebody said Wayne Chisholm. Somebody said Ron Slay. Somebody said this might be it for me, Grant Williams.
Yeah.
Who I ended up actually not disliking once he got to the NBA, but in college with his style of play really bothered me.
I hated Stokes.
It wasn't even like I hated Grant Williams at all as a person. It was how he played basketball that drove me insane. So I'm going to go with Grant Williams, but it has nothing to do with him. But God, his style of play was horrendous.
I hated Stokes. I hated that white kid. Oh gosh, Skylar McBee.
Oh, that's a good pull.
I hated
great-
Skylar McBee.
Great pull.
Oh.
Maybe my favorite Tennessee basketball player, if you're allowed to say that, Lofton.
Fuck Chris Lofton.
I'm a shooter. I appreciate shooters. I also don't hate Rick Barnes, which is
fuck Rick Barnes.
Yeah, I love this. It's just tough to hate Rick Barnes, to be honest. Next up from Door_22, he has one simple message. Fuck Jalen Carey is what he says. Next up, from Pessimistic Door, Trevor, how will you greet Jalen Carey when he comes onto the court Saturday?
Brother, you don't want to know.
Censored.
I might have the early exit via security escort out of 2L.
It's going to be electric to see what that crowd response is. Next up from your boy Cooper. I know we're still a few weeks away from a truly clear picture of the bracket, but what are some potential second round matchups you would like and dislike for men's basketball? For example, I've been impressed by Michigan State lately, but I wouldn't want to match up with those bigs in a 4/5 second round. I'm going to be honest, I have not looked to potential second round matchups yet. I want to see Vanderbilt win a first round matchup. That hasn't even entered my realm of thought yet. I don't know about you.
Vanderbilt at a 4, so it would most likely be a 5. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think a St. John's matchup would be really fun, but I don't think they're slated at a 5 in the Midwest. Because I think it's a foregone conclusion Vanderbilt's going to be in the Midwest. I don't know. I think I saw one bracket that had Tennessee as a 6 in the Midwest.
Yeah, bracket matrix has Tennessee as a 6, St. John's as a 5.
Okay, I think a St. John's matchup would be really fun.
Vanderbilt at a 4. Right now, the potential 5s on bracket matrix are Alabama, Arkansas, St. John's, North Carolina.
I think where's Gonzaga slated? I think they've been pretty close to a 5. I think
they're a 3 right now on bracket matrix.
Okay. If Gonzaga, which then again with their schedule they wouldn't slip up. Outside of the round of 32, if Vanderbilt was to advance, I think a matchup with Gonzaga will be really fun.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. That has not even entered my brain yet. It's been a while since Vanderbilt's won an NCAA tournament basketball game.
2012. It was that Jeff Taylor, John Jenkins team, wasn't it? Whenever they beat Harvard in 64.
I think that's right.
I believe they beat Harvard in 64 and then lost, obviously, to Wisconsin in 32. I think it was 2012.
I think you're right. Somebody correct us if we were wrong, but I
believe that first matchup was against Harvard.
I think that is correct. So, yeah, I just want to see a first-round win at this point. I mean, I know that's – you have Vanderbilt potentially as a 4 seed, so that would be disappointing, the aspect of a 4 seed. But for me, it's been a while. So a win, just an NCAA tournament win, would basically stamp this season as a success for me. Mm-hmm. Call that what you want to call it. I'm not moving the goalposts from where I had it before the season.
Yeah, agreed.
G Barks 2-4, dog. What would your ideal Vanderbilt admissions commercial look like? Blake, our Soviet agent Alex, and I all agree that the damn bench has got to go.
The bench. I love that that's become a meme. I'm going to go, Blake, Alex, George would be a strong 3. Peter Porker, Strong 4. Who do I want as my 5? Vanderbilt alums that I know. Art Goldfinger revealing his true self as the 5 would be awesome.
That's perfect. We have it now. Locked down. Yeah, they got to do something. I'm tired of that. Tired of that commercial.
I think the screen grab is so funny though.
There's genuinely it's just the admissions commercials are always 80% of them are just boring. It's only because when you watch Vanderbilt athletics events, it's on every damn commercial break. It feels like so you eventually just get Jesus, something new. Please, for the love of God, it's nothing against that commercial specifically, but my God. Oh, all right. Next up, I'm having PTSD flashbacks just thinking about that commercial. From NBA Door, can you rank our ball handling options if Tanner is out for foul trouble and we are without Duke and Collins? I mean, number 1, Okereke.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Okereke, and then number 2, man, after him, probably Nickel, and then maybe
Mike James.
It's not Chandler Bing, even though he's performed all right.
Would you go Mike James ball handling over Nickel?
No. I just haven't seen enough of it yet. Nickel's not a great ball handler. I mean, AK is.
But at least
he's been on the court.
Capable.
Yeah, he's been on the court in pressure situations a lot more than Mike James. So it's Okereke.
What about Glock? We saw Glock take it up a lot last year.
If he's matched up correctly, then yes, he can do that. It just depends on the matchup for him. But Okereke's number 1 on that secondary ball handler by a lot. By miles.
By a lot. Yep.
Next up from NBA Door, please list who you see returning to the basketball team. Any chance we can appeal for more eligibility for any seniors like AK and Washington?
I think Tyler Tanner is back.
Yep.
Chandler Bing is back. I believe Mike James has another year. However, I could see him entering the portal. That's just a gut feeling. That's no insight. You obviously get Kimball, but you haven't seen any of him. So AK is interesting. So shout out to Elena Morris. She tweeted that she believed in order to get AK back, Vanderbilt would have to file a waiver. AK only played 4 games his freshman season. And if I remember correctly, around the era of COVID, the Ivy League Conference implemented a strange return rule that I don't know if that is still in effect. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Vanderbilt should have to file a waiver for AK to come.
Yeah, AK is the only one. I don't think Washington has any.
No, he.
I know. I think he played 20 games his freshman year. AK is the only kind of wild card I have. I think Leverett will be back. That's no inside. It's just completely guessing based on allowed times for development for guys that have his physical size. If I had to guess, I think Dean Vines is gone.
I agree.
He's going to be in the portal. It's going to be a lot of pieces to put into place for next year's roster. But like you said, the biggest piece is Tanner, who I think will be back.
I'm very confident Tyler Tanner is back.
I would be surprised if he's not back. World's Strongest Vandy fan on the rank our ball handling option said, F it, let Leverett bring the ball down the court. All point guards. Final premium message board question. Jamie Lee Curtis _15. Hearing Dickie V might be in town on Saturday. If we put aside his unnecessary post-Heisman Pavia jab, people don't forget. It's exciting to have him back on campus. I think the last time he was here was 2012. Over these 14 years, what has been your highest high for Vandy hoops and your lowest low? Well, I know my lowest low, and it is that Presbyterian loss. That is the lowest low that I've had.
That loss had me on the brink of tears. Dude, that drive back from Memorial to our shanty home apartment complex was maybe the worst drive of my life. I don't think we said a word the entire way back home. Like the 15, 20-minute drive back home. I don't think we said a single word.
No, that's the lowest. So the highest high, I'm not sure what the highest high is, but I know what my lowest low is.
What's the time?
Since 2012, since he was here. So I'm not going to take the cop-out answer and say the 2012 SEC championship. I'm going to say the moment before
Matthew Fisher Davis timeout was a low.
Foul.
Or foul, sorry. That was a low.
But that's still, to me, that was just a mental error by a player. That was nothing compared to the Presbyterian. I mean, that was sickening. The Presbyterian loss
I got one. It's the Darius Garland knee injury.
Oh, yeah.
That's my lowest.
Okay.
That's lower than Presbyterian.
I take it back. That is the lowest of the low. I'll say my high was when Darius Garland in that first couple games he played. That was my highest of the highs when I was like, this team might be it.
I think my highest of the high was since 2012.
The corner three from Tyron Lawrence was a pretty high, but that's just like an individual high. That's not like an overall season arc high.
I think making the tournament last year, the selection Sunday, seeing that Vanderbilt actually made the tournament, because I think we forget, like, going into selection Sunday, like a majority of us, including myself, were like, we're on the line of like last four in, first four out. And then it turned out that that was not the case whatsoever. That was a really high for me.
Yeah, to be honest, there haven't been a ton of highs since 2012. Yeah. There's been a lot more lows. Last portion of this question. Also, Trevor, have you purchased the custom Vandy Wolverine mask? And can we expect to see it in action on Saturday?
I have not. So that's on Facebook Marketplace, and it's like $100. With that being said, I think it actually is worth $100. Great craftsmanship by that person.
I might buy that for you.
Dude, could you imagine me pulling up some Memorial versus the Vols in a Vandy Wolverine?
And his final question was, and finally, any TDR pregame plans on Saturday?
Yes. We're going to be at Martin's. We will post that to the board. It's a 1 p.m. tip, so we'll probably get to Martin's at like 11:30. That's the plan. I'll post a reminder on the board.
All right. That is it for premium message board questions. Trevor, anything you want to add here before we close out episode 354?
Nothing from me.
All right. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host, Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 354 of The Door Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.